The stock markets are crashing and they're going to continue to crash, says the International Monetary Fund. This is serious, you guys. Let's get into it. All right, you guys, we're going to be talking about some crazy stuff that is happening today. The markets are in all kinds of turmoil and we are getting some serious warnings. Now, this isn't just some one individual investor that's saying something. We're talking about the biggest institutions in the world are sounding a warning that heightening the rates at the rates that they are doing now is going to cause some massive, serious repercussions that we have not seen in many of our lifetimes. Now, let's get into some of the articles of the today, guys, and you got to see it to believe it, honestly. The first article I want you to look at is CNN.com. Now, it says the worst is yet to come. Now, the International Monetary Fund is issuing a stark recession warning. So please go check out this article. We'll have the links below. It says the International Monetary Fund has once again downgraded its forecast for the global economy, and its sharp warning: the worst is yet to come, and many people 2023 will feel like a recession. Now, the reason they can say that you have not felt that it is a recession so far is because most people are still employed. If you poll just your friends, your family, anybody that you know on Facebook, whatever, you're going to notice that the majority of people are still working. That is the one thing that they're hanging on to, even though they have gotten rid of mostly the high paying jobs and substitute it with very low paying entry level jobs like cleaning dishes at the restaurant. That's not the same thing. So they're clinging to that. But remember, 2 quarters of negative GDP, and we are in a recession. That is the definition of a recession. So whether or not they want to move the definitions for political gain, you and I still know what the truth is. If we look around, the financial stability of the world is in peril. And we have seen 3 massive economies just recently almost tip over into collapse: England, Japan, and China. And the week after that, we saw Credit Suisse and Deutsche Bank almost go under as well. Massive trouble that is coming. Now, let's get back to what the International Monetary Fund is saying. The International Monetary Fund continues on. What is the reason that you will be feeling like there is a recession? It says the Russia war, number 1, high inflation, number 2, and the slowdown in China and the drag on activity. Now, what is happening in China is very, very deep, but the largest part of what is happening there is their mortgages. Now, they have a lot of debt. Something that North America, United States, and Canada forget is when we sign up for a property, we normally start paying on that property something like 3 years later or whenever it's finally built. Then we'll put a mortgage on it and start paying our payments. In China, they start paying those mortgage payments the day that they sign. So they may have to wait 4 or 5 years to get the property, but they're paying a mortgage payment that whole time. So this has led them to having to sign more contracts in order to pay for today's bills. Kind of sounds like a Ponzi scheme, I know, right? But this is the way it works. So now that there's so many people who have mobilized and stopped paying those bills, it's showing all the cracks in the system, and the governments are having to come out and rescue the system from total collapse. All right, let's continue with the International Monetary Fund. They are saying, which I think is a joke, global inflation is expected to rise from 4.7% in 2021 to 8.8% this year. Now, 4.7% is a joke, how low that they're saying that is. 8.8%, it's already way past that in Canada. I don't know where you live, but this is way, way, way low. It's probably double that. But here is, if we're going to use their same baseline, they're saying last year 4.7 to 8.8 today. So that's what, almost double as bad. So they're expecting inflation to get double what it is today. So however expensive you think it is today, they're expecting it to go double. Now, what are they saying? Batten down the hatches, they're saying. The United Nations conference, the United Nations is saying button down the hatches. There is some serious trouble coming. It is saying that they caution tighter monetary policy, which is raising the interest rates, could inflict worse damage globally than the financial crisis in 2008 and the COVID shock in 2020. Did you hear that? So what they are estimating is coming, what the United Nations is estimating is coming, is going to be worse than the health crisis in 2020 and worse than the 2007-2008 meltdown of the global financial markets. So you got to ask yourself, are you ready? What are you doing to prepare for this? Because you should be doing a lot. Now, if we also go back to that exact point in 2007-8, the great financial crisis, the United States was sitting around 30% debt to GDP. Now, let's put that in perspective. What happens if you made a $100,000 salary and you had a $30,000 debt? You would say, well, that's a lot, but I might be able to get out of that if I had a $100,000 salary and $30,000 debt. Maybe. So let's look at how bad it is for the United States, because it definitely is not 30% anymore. This is where we got to continue on. We're getting bad news all over the place, none of which is worse than England. So if you look at England, the pound is plunging. The Bank of England boss is telling that pension funds have 3 days to balance their books. And if they don't, they could be out of business by then. Now, the pension funds are calling on extra money until at least October 31st. Do you think that is going to happen? I doubt it, but this is what they're looking for. The stricken health pension funds are scrambling for 320 billion pounds this week. If the pensions don't come up with 320 billion pounds this week, they could go under. So let me explain you how that can possibly happen. Let's imagine for a second that we have a $1 million house with an $800,000 mortgage. Okay? $1 million house, $800,000 mortgage. Now, what happens if the house price drops a lot? I mean, drop down to like 500,000, drops in half. Now, the bank is not comfortable having a mortgage of 800,000 on a home that's only worth 500. They're going to call you up, and that's called a callable loan. They're going to call you up and say, hey, remember you had an $800,000 mortgage on a $500,000 home? Now, we're only comfortable lending you $400,000. That's a difference of 400 grand. You have 10 days to pay us $400,000, or you forfeit your home. Your home is gone. You lose everything. My goodness, this is some serious stuff, right? So you can understand how that can happen in homes. Now, the same thing can happen in your stocks. If you start playing some very, very risky stocks, there's a lot of products. I don't want to get into it, but you could lose everything on your bets once you get into options and derivatives. So this is where you have to be really, really careful, you guys. And this is exactly what the pension fund has done. They've made themselves at such risk that they're at risk of collapse. Now, this is not just an English thing, or not Bank of England thing. The United States are the largest debtor in the history of the world. Whoa, David, that's a pretty big claim. Where can we check this out? Glad you asked, my friends. If you just go and type in statistica.com, you can go check out exactly what the country of your choice and the total debt to GDP ratio. In the United States, we are currently at 127% debt to GDP. Massive. Now, why do I always reference 130%? 130% is kind of like the crossing line where the worst is yet to come and there's no coming back. You ever hear that? There's no coming back. Could be that way with trust, could be that way with friends. But I want you to reference a website and go to the US Debt Clock. Please go to the usdebtclock.org. You will see that the United States are now at $31 trillion. World record holder, okay? Record holder. So start cheering. 31 trillion. It only took them 9 months to add another $1 trillion to their national debt. Now, you would think that $31 trillion sounds manageable, but it is not, my friends. $31 trillion is huge, and it is just at the line of 130%. Now, 31 million is nothing compared to the unfunded liabilities. Now, I want you to go to the bottom right-hand side to look at the U.S. unfunded liabilities, which is sitting at $170 trillion. Now, this is where people kind of get confused because debt and unfunded liabilities are so different. So number one, what is your debt? So debt could be like if it was me and you and we owed money on a credit card to MasterCard. I already spent it. It's gonzo. I know it. I have to pay it back. But what is an even bigger part is the unfunded liabilities at $170 trillion. Now, what does that mean? If you had a child, a baby, and you bring that baby home and you bought diapers that day and food that day, I have now fed the child for the day. But I know that that kid is my responsibility now for the next 18 years, maybe more. And I got, if nowadays he lives at home till he's 35, but you know that you have to pay for his daycare, his food, his medical, his clothing for the rest of the 18 years. How are you going to pay that off? You're like, I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to find a job and make the money later on. Like, I don't know where the money's going to come from, but I know that that bill is coming due. Same thing is for the United States, Canada, Europe, Australia, all those different countries, because we have taken money from citizens for decades saying, don't worry, we will pay your pension later. Don't worry, we will pay medical services later to the vets that went and fought at war. Don't worry, we're going to pay for you later on. They have no clue how they're going to pay for that. None. So the 30 trillion that is owed currently pales in comparison to the 170 trillion that they owe, that they are not adding to that bill, my friends, right? That's a big, big, big problem. Once you add that up, there is no coming back. Okay, there is no coming back. Now, David, how do you know that there's no coming back? I want you to reference my screen again. I have a photo for you, and I'm going to read it for all you who are not on YouTube, but please go reference this video later on. Let me read this to you. Since 1851, since 1800, okay? So 200 years. In 200 years, no country has ever made it back from 130% debt to GDP. No country. Since 1800, 51 out of 52 countries with gross government debt greater than 130% have defaulted on their commitments, either through restructuring, devaluation, high inflation, wink, wink, or outright default. Japan is the only example of a country avoiding default despite having government debt greater than 130%. And Japan didn't solve their problems, just rather mitigated it without defaulting. Now, let's put that into real person terms. Japan is the only country that just continued to borrow more. Imagine you and I are going out and we are on the brink of default, and we are told you're going to get your car seized tomorrow. You're going to get a home seized tomorrow. Everything you're getting seized. And you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And then out of nowhere, Amex calls you and gives you a new credit card. And you're like, thank you, I'll take it. Now I saved my home, I saved my car, right? But my problems are not fixed. I just kick the can down the road a little bit more. Japan is the only country that has been able to kick that can a little bit more down the road. And I think that the US is vying for that championship. So I want you to go back. I'm going to read this again for you. And I want you just to pay attention to this, because I think that this is very, very telling. No country has ever come back from 130%. So it's giving examples. Argentina, 1827, outright default. Spain, 1877, restructured. There was a revolution. Turkey, 1872. Then again in 1876, default because of drought and floods. Sound like a lot of countries that we're having today? The United Kingdom, we know the United States is king of the earth today because the United Kingdom fell after the Second World War. But they lost because of the world wars and devaluation. Do you know what code for devaluation is? Inflation. Devaluation equals inflation. Please remember that. When you see that your money is getting inflated, that means your money is getting devalued. It's worth less and less. Okay, France, Germany, Japan, Australia, Canada, all of them, even where I live, high inflation wiped us out because of the Second World War. Ghana, 1966, restructuring. Costa Rica, 1981, lower exports. Greece, 2010, bailout because of the financial crisis. Man, this is just a couple of them. 51 of the countries went under because of that debt. So, you guys, this is coming for you, whether you like it or not. And everybody I talk to says, guess what, guys? I'm going to wait and see. And they're full of what I call hopium. I hope that it's going to get better. I have faith that it's going to get better. And I don't have faith in that anymore. I want someone to be able to give us an answer. But guess what? There is no government entity in the history of mankind, in the history of countries, that have ever said, get out of the way. Hurricane coming. Financial hurricane, okay? They'll say the real ones, right? But they won't say the financial ones. They want to always tell you everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay, because they want everything to be in a calm manner, especially financially. You guys saw just 2 weeks ago, 3 countries almost collapsed overnight. because of the finances. And that happens instantly, as fast as a physical hurricane. So you guys need to button down the hatches as the International Monetary Fund. Financial education is the key. And I want you guys not just to survive this thing, I want you to thrive. Some of the best opportunities you will have in your life happen when there's a recession. Statistically, it is the absolute best time to start a company within a recession. And I think the mother of all recessions is on the way. It's going to make 2008 look like a joke. Now, how can this present itself? It could present itself like it did in 2008-9 when the whole markets crashed. It could present itself that way. But remember, it could present itself in a very insidious way through inflation. If everything became 50% more expensive overnight, it would fix a lot of their problems, but it would ruin us. Imagine your rent went up 50%, food went up 50%, gas went up 50%. That also could ruin you financially because people don't have that much extra money. Remember, if you remember looking at the list, 51 of the 52 countries failed in the past 200 years. And a lot of them came from, remember that term, devaluation, which means inflation. Anyway, you guys, I think we're going to have high inflation for several years. This has happened many times before in history. Please become a student of history and a student of financial education. I believe that it's going to save a lot of people's lives. It's heartbreaking to me that for every 1% that the unemployment rate goes up in the United States, 50,000 people die. In Canada, when the unemployment rate goes up 1%, 5,000 people die. And the why, it sounds crazy, right? But it happens because a lot of people have to make that desperate choice between taking medicine or eating, or giving medicine to their child and not giving medicine to themselves. Something has to give. And unfortunately, a lot of people get hurt. That's why I believe so passionately in financial education is the key. Please, please consider reading. And if you know one person that this could help, even one, please send it that way. If you got any value from this video at all, I would really appreciate it if you give me a thumbs up and subscribe to it. We're really trying to get our word out there, and it really helps the algorithm a lot. Please remember to like, follow, subscribe, and I'm here all the time. If you have any questions, please send it to me. I'd love to get any messages from you. You can send me an email, contact@Rough Team Realty, if you want to be more private about it. And I want you guys to do well. This is the time to survive and thrive, you guys. I love you, and I'll see you soon. All right, you guys, I'm going to answer some of your questions if you would like. We got Sean here on YouTube. Hey, you said love my channel. Keep it up. Appreciate it, Sean. Thank you so much. Do you have any specific questions for me that I can answer for you today? Otherwise, I'll take a couple of the questions off of TikTok that we have right now before I get going. Marty, you believe Trudeau will take care of us? I doubt that, buddy. Almost is the key word. This is the word that the government always uses, right? Almost. We are almost in trouble, for sure. Desi, you said, can it happen in Canada? Absolutely, 1000%. This is happening in Canada as well. The reason why we talk about the United States is because the United States is the world reserve currency. If the world reserve currency was China, we'd be talking about China. In the past, it was the United Kingdom and the British pound. That was the king of the world as far as currencies, right? From the turn of the century until 1945. It actually really kind of broke down after World War I, but officially 1945. So it doesn't matter. We need to follow what the reserve currency of the world is doing. Desi, you're saying gold prices are going down. They're going down on the COMEX market, but not in physical. If you wanted to buy something in physical, the prices are actually gone up, way up. Wade Wamsley, how are you, buddy? Good to see you, dude. You love my shirt? Nice, man. Thank you. See, there are a bunch of arrows on it, pointing you in the right direction. Montreal Services, how are you, buddy? Good to see you. Thank you very much for coming by. Yeah, user 205210, you said, as far as I know, Britain is still here. Listen, you guys, it doesn't mean that it's Armageddon and the world is going to be barren, torched nuclear blast. This is not what reserve currency or losing your status means. Remember, before the United States was England, and before that was France, and before that was Dutch. They were the king currencies of the world over the last 400 years. So yes, the country of Holland, the Netherlands is still there. The country of France is still there. The country of England or United Kingdom or Britain or whatever you want to call it, it's all still there. But it no longer occupies the position of the chief currency, reserve currency of the world. That is a massive, massive difference. Most of the trade on the planet is transacted in US dollars. The United States in 1974 signed a deal with Saudi Arabia, and they said, for your protection, we will protect you. We'll send you military gear. We'll protect you. If you do, all oil ever sold has to be in US dollars. And they signed that deal and said, yep, absolutely, we'll take it. That is why the US can, like they call it, I don't know if you know, export deflation. Have you ever heard of that before? So exporting inflation is where we have this system right now where the US has all dollars. Exporting inflation is when Saudi Arabia exports all the oil in US dollars. So it creates a demand worldwide for US dollars. And that's why it was worth it for them to protect Saudi Arabia. This is why it's such a big deal right now that if we come across this, where Saudi Arabia starts selling the oil in yuan for China, it's going to now break it apart. Now, OPEC, I'm doing a really good video that you guys should watch tomorrow on OPEC and what just happened with the $2 million cuts. You guys are going to say it's one of my best videos ever. We're going to be digging really, really deep into what OPEC was, what its significance is today, and how it could be the linchpin, the keystone to breaking apart the entire world order. Desi, how are you, buddy? If someone's house is worth less than the mortgage amount. Yeah, that's called a callable loan. So you can't have $1 million mortgage on a $500,000 home. It doesn't work. The bank is only willing to lend you so much, usually 80% of the value of your home. It depends, right? But they're going to ask for all that money back. And if you can't pay for it back, they can force you to sell your home. And it could really, really hurt you. It could wipe you out. This is what happened in 2008, 9, 10. So can the banks come for a GIC? This is getting into complicated, like legal stuff. So what happens if you had $1 million home and an $800,000 mortgage, and then your home dropped in price down to 500? You got to come up with that money some way or another. You may have to liquidate your GICs and some other funds that you have. You might have to do that. You may do it by choice. You may do it by force through a court. One or the other. Something's going to happen. That's one thing. Also, the governments have the option of a bail-in. If you don't know what a bail-in is, please go check it out online. Canada has it. A lot of countries have that now, bail-in. We're familiar with bailouts, where the government comes in and pays the banks in order to keep them open, too big to fail. But bail-in is the government will say you're too big to fail, so take money out of people's savings accounts. GICs, whatever it is, take money out of their accounts in order to stay open. So this happened in Cyprus in 2010, I believe it was. We in Canada started putting in the laws in around 2016 or 17, something like that. So bail in, that's the scary part, right? They could come, you could wake up in the morning and 10% of your entire bank accounts are gonzo. Off in the moon. They're not coming back. Crazy, right? It's scary to think that, because everyone thinks that when you put the money in the bank, it's safe. Number one, it's not safe because the government insidiously is printing a lot of money, which is devaluing your dollar. Problem number one. Problem number two, the big problem, is that they can actually take money if they need it. So just, you want to question me on that? Look at China, look at Lebanon, look at Venezuela, a lot of countries, Colombia. You can't get your money out. There are citizens who are putting a gun in their pocket and walking into the bank and holding up the bank for their own money. This isn't trying to hold up the bank for someone else's, trying to get their own money out of the bank. So they'll do this. They call that capital controls, where they're going to stop you from getting your bank out, your money out. You're allowed $20 a week. I don't care if you have $1 million in your bank. So that's the scary part, right? We don't want that to happen to you. So that's why you got to make sure not all your money is sitting in one bank. You got to split it up. All right, man. Did I answer all your questions? I hope I did. I hope we had some fun stuff. I have a question for you guys if you're interested. We have been working on a new program. I'm wondering if you guys would like this. Two different things. Number one, they're both interactive calculators. I wanted to go live, have the camera a little bit closer to the television, and we will run them live looking at individual property numbers. So you'll be able to give me a property, $1 million, what you think it's going to appreciate at, and we can instantly calculate the cash on cash returns and see if it's a good deal or not. That's the first calculator. The second one is where you could tell me all of the local. First of all, do you guys like that idea? Would you guys would you be interested in that? Having a calculator where we can live do examples one-on-one, where we can look at the prices and see what the returns are on different homes. It doesn't matter what country you're in. Addie, you would like that? Any one of you else like that? You can just give a heart on it, like it or something, or give me a yes. You guys, Sam, yeah, I thought you would like it, Sam. Okay. Well, maybe I'll look into it. If only three of you like it. Okay. Thanks, guys. Okay, so maybe I'll develop that. The second one I was wondering is for mostly the people in Toronto. As you guys know, that I sell properties in Toronto. This is my main occupation. We got a lot of companies, but this is the one that we're normally talking about. We operate from Barrie all the way to Oshawa down to Niagara Falls, a big area. Millions of homes in that area. So what we were going to do is, if you guys want to tell me where your postal code is, I only need the first 3 digits, not the whole 6, just the first 3. If you give me the first 3 and tell me I got a 4-bedroom home in this first 3 digits, I can show you charts to show you if the property is going up or down in value, and so that you can have an idea of where you are in the market. Would that be interesting to any of you guys? Desi, what do you mean by 17C? Would you guys like that individualized chart from different regions in Toronto? If you like that, can you just write Toronto in the comments? Just write Toronto in the comments, because then I'm going to know. I'm going to ask you guys all week if you guys like this type of stuff, because if you do, it costs us a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of Glenn and Alexis and Tessa and everybody. The entire team has to spend a lot of time on that. Okay, you guys. Oh, so you're giving me your postal. So those are good. Okay, so you guys would like it, right? Sam, Addie, Desi, you guys are long term here. So I've seen you guys many times. So maybe I'll continue developing it, because it costs a lot of money to do those things. So if we do it, yeah, maybe I'll make it more often, that will come on here and we'll do it. But that's the exact example I'm trying to tell you. You give me the first 3 digits and we'll look into it and we'll do it live. And hopefully people will like it. Hopefully it'll give them some answers. I mean, this is where I do my best work, is in Toronto, so I can let you guys know. All right, you guys, if you guys want, like always, please follow me. Anyone on TikTok, please follow me on my YouTube channel. Exact same name. I would really mean a lot if you could do that. Thank you very much. Please follow me on YouTube. And if you're interested in our courses and our books, please pay attention to it. We're going to continue to tell you updates when it's coming. We have a new course on gold and silver. My gold and silver course for advanced learners is coming out. So that is going to be coming out soon. I mean, within a week or 2. So wish me the best. I'll let you guys know. Hope you guys have a very good night. I'll stay on for another about 30 seconds. If you have any last questions for me, I'll answer them before I head out. Sorry, I've been gone. I've been gone for a while, for 5 days. We have been so busy, man. There are deals like crazy. We are selling homes like mad. So, guys, the market is crazy right now. Let's see how it continues. We're going to see that homes are going to be selling more and more, but people are becoming more realistic with their prices. You may be seeing that more as people are getting squeezed by these interest rates, right? We are seeing that people are willing to be more realistic with their prices and sell them out. You're basically having lost a lot if you've owned your home for a long time. Juju, this is going to be a virtual course, but it's not live. We're going to be doing the course. You can purchase the course on my website. S&P 500, how low could it go? Desi, like, listen, I sold most of my stuff. I'm in the inverse now. How low could it go? We got to look at history. It could drop another 25% from where it is today, maybe even 30. It just depends how big the hit is. Now, if we drop another 25% in the markets today, that's homes and stocks, even if it drops another 25%, we're only showing what we dropped the last time. But here's the problem. The debt is so much higher today. The stakes are so much higher that the drop to be relevant would have to be even bigger. All right, you guys, wishing you the very, very best. Hope that you have a fantastic night. Thank you very much for coming by. Thank you for being fans. And I'm really excited. This weekend, we passed 2,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. So really excited. That's been taking off very much. Thank you guys for always being believers and fans. Appreciate it. Hope you have a fantastic night. Talk to you soon. Thank you, YouTube.